We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Calling UN Security Council meet on Kashmir boomerangs on Pakistan as it is cornered by members. Nations reject its false flag narrative, condemn Pahalgam terror attack. India's Home Secretary holds meeting on civil defence. 244 categorised districts up to village level begin preparation. Israel Security Cabinet approves plan to capture Gaza, also approves plan to deliver aid through private companies. US extends support even as UN and other aid agencies decry the move. Donald Trump administration freezes future grants to Harvard, demands policy changes mainly regarding anti-Semitism on campus. And German conservative Friedrich Merz will be sworn into office as Chancellor. Merz to lead a coalition of conservatives and social democrats. And on to the top story this hour. The United Nations Security Council came down heavily on Pakistan at a closed-door consultation over tensions with India and the Pahalgam terror attack. The members grilled Islamabad over Pakistan-based terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba's involvement in last month's Pahalgam attack, in which at least 26 tourists were killed by the terrorist. Pakistan's attempts to internationalize the situation failed, with the members of the global security body flagging Pakistan's nuclear rhetoric as an escalatory factor. They also expressed concern over Pakistan's recent missile test. The UNSC members refused to accept the false flag narrative and asked whether Lashkar-e-Taiba was likely to be involved in the attack. The members were also of the opinion that Pakistan's efforts to internationalize the situation have also failed, advising Islamabad to sort out the issues bilaterally with New Delhi. And Akshay Dongre joins us from New Delhi for more on this. Well, Akshay, how significant is the UNSC's direct criticism of Pakistan in shaping international pressure regarding the cross-border terrorism?
Well, Lipakshi, as far as this criticism of Pakistan is concerned, is quite significant, especially because of the fact that Pakistan was the country that had called for this closed-door meeting, being part of the 15 non-permanent members of the United Nations Security Council at this point. A meeting that was called by Pakistan, a meeting that was called for Pakistan to set its own narrative has backfired, and in fact the United Nations Security Council members that were present in the meeting had questioned the role of Pakistan, terror group, the Lashkar-e-Taiba and its proxies in executing this Pahalgam massacre in India's Jammu and Kashmir. So clearly, what we are seeing right now is another embarrassing movement for Pakistan, especially given the fact that even after trying to set its own narrative and trying to unite or line up international support for its army and the kind of terror activities that it has been doing and trying to mask it, Pakistan has been exposed once again at the global stage. However, it remains to be seen that how significant that would be, because India has clearly from the very beginning stated that this meeting was called unilateral by Pakistan, and it was called to set an agenda or set a narrative, do some sort of propaganda against India, which has already failed. But even if it would have succeeded, then it wouldn't have mattered to India, because it was not a meeting that was called by both the countries to solve anything. It was just one-sided agenda, and even in that, Pakistan has failed. The UNSC Security Council, the United Nations Security Council has also flagged the kind of missile test that Pakistan has done, and the nuclear rhetoric that not only its leadership but also the army has been using as a factor that is escalatory when it comes to tension between the two nations. Back to you, Lipakshi.
All right, Akshay, there's a news coming in right now. The National Security Advisor, Doval, meets Prime Minister Modi on the issue. Tell us, Akshay, what are the implications right now of this meet and of also UNSC outrightly rejecting Pakistan's false flag narrative?
Well, Lipakshi, the kind of meetings that are taking place are highly confidential in nature because, in the past 1 week, we are seeing, meetings after meeting being taken place, Prime Minister being, in most of the meetings, and even if he's not, he's getting updates of all of these meetings. So as far as what is happening, it's absolutely confidential. So, nothing can be shared as far as the meeting and the outcomes of the meetings are concerned, but clearly it is about the national security, the kind of preparations that are happening, the kind of preparations that are also taking place across the country, even the mock drills of the different states that are taking place tomorrow are part of the agenda. But when it comes to the implication of such meetings, it's clearly that all of the preparations that have to be done as far as acting against the terror groups are concerned, or action that are being taken place by the Indian government to in fact find out and punish the perpetrators of this Pahalgam attack, be it inside India's borders or even outside of it, is being discussed and is being prepared for. Also, the second question, as far as the UNSC's retaliation against Pakistan is concerned, is quite significant. As we know, the kind of agenda setting that Pakistan has been trying to do has completely failed. And when it comes to the rhetoric that Pakistan is trying to build is constantly failing, given the fact that its track record is itself highly dubious. It's a country that has sheltered, provided, and even funded some of the world's most dreaded terrorists. It speaks on its own as far as Pakistan's track record is concerned. So clearly, any kind of such meetings that are being called by Pakistan are not going to result in any much favor for the country when it comes to the global support. The countries, even the closest allies of Pakistan, like China, are aware of the kind of terror hubs and terror camps that are operating from its borders.
Right, Akshay. Also, UNSC questioned the role of Lashkar-e-Taiba in the Pahalgam attack.
Well, yes, Lashkar-e-Taiba's mention was part of the meetings, and in fact, as far as the lashback that UNSC did against Pakistan, that was also on the basis of Lashkar-e-Taiba and its proxies taking responsibility for Pahalgam attack once they realized the kind of mobilization of support India has been getting, not only from across the country but also from international allies as well. Then Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba tried to take its name back, started making excuses as far as the attack is concerned, but it stood exposed the moment it took the responsibility of that dastardly attack that took place in Jammu and Kashmir.
All right. Akshay, also at the UN Security Council meet, as we know, tough questions for Pakistan out read. Simultaneously, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval met Prime Minister Modi. This was the second meet between the two in the past 24 hours.
Well, if you have to prepare for major actions, if you have to prepare for any eventuality, then certainly these meetings are showing the kind of hectic parleys that are taking place at the top level of the government. The National Security Advisor, the chiefs of the three wings of the armed forces, the Indian Army, the Indian Navy, and the Indian Air Force, their chiefs meeting with the Prime Minister, the Defense Secretary holding meetings with the Prime Minister, the Defense Minister holding meetings with the Prime Minister. So one pattern is very clear, that the Prime Minister is involved at each and every level when it comes to preparations for any kind of eventuality, any operations against terror groups and even against Pakistan Army. So this is all on the agenda when it comes to these kind of meetings that are taking place at the highest level of the government of India.
Right, a day ahead of the countrywide security drills announced. Thank you so much, Akshay, for all those details. And another incident of ceasefire violation was reported on the intervening night of 5th and 6th of May. Pakistan Army resorted to unprovoked small arms firing from posts across the line of control in areas opposite Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri, Mendhar, Naushera, Sundarbani and Akhnur in Jammu and Kashmir. Well, Indian Army responded in a proportionate manner. And moving on, amid escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, Union Home Secretary Govind Mohan holding a meeting regarding civil defense. The chief secretaries and heads of civil defense from across the country participating in the meeting via video conferencing. Preparations for civil defense are being made in 244 districts of the country. Also, as India's Home Ministry has asked several states to conduct a mock drill for effective civil defence on 7th of May, preparations for civil defence are being made in 244 categorised districts of the country. The following measures will be undertaken. 1. The operationalisation of air raid warning sirens. 2. The training of civilians, including students, on civil defence aspects to protect themselves in the event of a hostile attack. 3rd, provision of crash blackout measures. 4th, provision for early camouflaging of vital plants or installations. And 5th, updation of an evacuation plan and its rehearsal. And in a major breakthrough against ISI-backed cross-border terror networks, a cache of terrorist hardware was recovered from the forested area near Tibba Nangal, Kula Road, SPS Nagar district of Punjab. State Special Operations Cell, Amritsar, in a joint operation with Central Agency, recovered 2 rocket-propelled grenades, 2 IEDs, 5 P-86 hand grenades and a wireless communication set. Preliminary probe indicates a coordinated operation by Pakistan's ISI and allied terror outfits to revive sleeper cells in Punjab. Also, an FIR under relevant provisions of law has been registered. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar attended the launch of the Global Access to Talent from India, also known as GATI, in New Delhi. While addressing the gathering on the need for Indian workforce, the minister said that India needs to pay attention to opportunities beyond the borders.
We have now entered a cycle of sustainable talent creation on a major scale in this country. It is necessary that we also pay greater attention to opportunities beyond our borders. And the reason for that is the emergence of the global workplace with a global workforce.
Well, speaking on global access for Indian talent, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar said that several major countries around the world have expressed an appetite for the skilled workforce of India.
My counterparts in Italy, and again I note the ambassador here before me, in Italy, in Spain, in Austria, and Greece, have all shown appetite to tap into our human resources pool as urgently and effectively as possible. This, I emphasize, is just the tip of the iceberg, and we must prepare for what is below the waterline. My short point is that there is a demand in the world, an availability in India, and the basic groundwork done to enable Indian talent to gain global access is there.
Well, the excited little girl who first touched a plane 2 decades ago is now flying high as the face of India's fast modernizing military and its only woman Rafale fighter pilot. Well, Shivangi Singh, who is married to a fellow fighter pilot, is the first Indian woman to fly the French-made single-seat Rafale jets. Women were first inducted into the fighter pilot ranks in 2015, 2 decades after they were allowed to join the Indian Air Force. New Delhi last month signed a multi-billion-dollar deal for 26 of the aircraft from Dassault Aviation, adding to 36 already ordered. The jets are part of a major modernization of the IAF to replace its aging fleet of Russian-made MiGs. The deal comes as tensions with Pakistan rise after New Delhi blamed Islamabad for an attack in Kashmir in April that killed 26 people. While Shivangi recalled her first visit as a child and what motivated her to join the Indian Air Force.
Coincidentally, this is the place where my journey started. As you can see the aircraft around, these were my inspiration. My grandfather used to get me over here to look at these aircraft, and seeing these vintage aircraft, it just filled me with that exhilaration and that passion to be in that cockpit and fly. That is how my journey started.
And on the occasion of Buddha's birthday, the Buddha bathing ceremony were held at the Hong Kong Coliseum. The ceremony typically involves pouring water over the Buddha statue 3 times, symbolizing the elimination of greed, anger and ignorance. It is often held during the Vesak festival, which celebrates the Buddha's birth, enlightenment and passing. Thousands of devotees participated in the ritual, which is considered a social and cultural event that promotes spiritual development. And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while. Welcome back, and moving on, the cinema industry is reeling after US President Donald Trump's announcement of a whopping 100% tariff on foreign films, casting uncertainty over the future of international productions. Reactions have poured in from industries all over. DD India's Antra Sinha has more on this.
Hollywood and entire global film industry are reeling under the latest tariff salvo by Donald Trump. The US president has called for a 100% tariff on foreign-produced films, sending shockwaves through an already fragile industry. The glitz and glamour of Tinseltown weathered down in a flash as Trump unveiled sweeping 100% tariffs on films shot outside the United States. From Canada to New Zealand, American studios have long chased foreign tax incentives, filming blockbusters in iconic locales far from California. But now, Trump wants to bring the cameras back home by force of policy. Although he has already directed the Department of Commerce to begin implementing tariffs on any and all films produced abroad, Trump sought to ward off criticism of the move. He clarified that all he wants is to help the industry. The White House said it had not made any final decisions, but noted that Hollywood film production had sharply declined from the previous year.
Film industry has been decimated by other countries taking them out, and also by incompetence, like in Los Angeles. The governor is a grossly incompetent man. He's just allowed it to be taken away from, Hollywood. Hollywood doesn't do very much of that business. They have the nice sign and everything's good, but they don't do very much. A lot of it's been taken to other countries, and a big proportion. And I'm actually going to meet with some because, there's some advantages, I guess, and I'm not looking to hurt the industry. I want to help the industry.
Industry leaders came blindsided and executives scrambled into emergency meetings. Stocks of major studios dipped after Trump's announcement. Unions and streamers alike are now questioning if the policy could even be enforced, or worse, if it could paralyze production further.
The whole movie industry at the moment is in a crisis already. We had COVID, which had a huge impact on moviegoing. We had dual strikes in the United States, which shut down production for a long period of time. The Hollywood and the film industry is really struggling to recover from those major impacts. If we add on top of that extra costs of production or these tariffs, it could really have disastrous effect on the industry.
Strikes by the writers, pandemic lockdown, ripple effects, challenges from the Asian filmmakers. List of challenges confronting Hollywood as the biggest movie-making destination are many. It was yearning for some hand-holding as the profits plummeted. Trump has fired another tariff salvo as a possible reform, but the industry is already wondering if this indeed is the solution or another addition in the long list of challenges. Antra Sinha for DD India.
Well, also the Trump administration has announced that Harvard University will be barred from receiving any new federal research grants until it complies with a set of demands laid out by the White House. The move represents the latest salvo from a Trump administration willing to use the power of the federal purse to force institutions, from law firms to universities, to make sweeping policy changes or else lose billions of dollars in federal grants and contracts. And U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Monday ordered a 20% reduction in the number of four-star officers, deepening cuts at the Pentagon. In a memo, Hegseth said that there will be minimum 20% reduction in the number of general officers in the National Guard and an additional 10% reduction among general and flag officers across the military. He added that he worked with the Joint Chiefs of Staff on this, and the goal was maximizing strategic readiness. At his confirmation hearing, he stated there was an inverse relationship between the size of staffs and victory on the battlefield. And Conservative Friedrich Merz is set to be sworn in as Germany's new Chancellor today. He will also be the head of a coalition with the centre-left Social Democrats. Lawmakers are widely expected to back Merz as Chancellor in a vote in the lower house of Parliament after his CDU-CSU Conservatives secured a coalition deal with the centre-left Social Democrats. Merz has promised to tighten immigration rules, invest in the nation's ailing infrastructure and rebuild ties with key European partners. And in the latest, an Israeli defense official has said that its expanded operation in Gaza would not be launched before the U.S. president concludes his visit next week to West Asia. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said an expanded offensive against Hamas would be intensive after his security cabinet approved plans that may include seizing the Gaza Strip and controlling aid. Netanyahu said in a video message the operation would be intensive and would see more Palestinians in Gaza moved for their own safety. He said Israeli troops would not follow previous tactics based on shot raids by forces based outside Gaza. The intention is the opposite, he said, echoing comments from other Israeli officials who have said Israel would hold on to the ground it has seized. While moving on, a young Tai Chi master from central China's Henan province is revolutionizing the way the next generation perceives this ancient martial art. Through her innovative video content, Li Linghui is blending traditional Tai Chi with modern aesthetics, attracting thousands of young followers and revitalizing a centuries-old practice. As the 13th generation hire of Chen-style Tai Chi, Li has dedicated herself to modernizing the practice and making it more accessible to young people. Breaking down complex movements into simple, easy-to-follow steps, Li started by teaching the 13 most representative Tai Chi forms. She created simplified versions of the moves, similar to how yoga or fitness routines are taught. And London began 4 days of Victory in Europe Day 80th anniversary events on Monday, with crowds enjoying a military parade and flypast alongside the royal family. Did India's Kajal report. London came alive with history, memory and pride on Monday as 4 days of commemorations began to mark the 80th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day. The iconic chimes of Big Ben struck midday, echoing across Westminster as a solemn military procession set off from the Houses of Parliament. More than 1,300 service members marched through central London, making their way to Buckingham Palace to the cheers of thousands. Proud veterans, the living links to that pivotal time, joined political leaders and 3 generations of royals for a day steeped in pageantry and remembrance. In 1945, the day was greeted by wild celebrations in London and across Britain. King Charles, Queen Camilla, the Prince and the Princess of Wales and their children stood alongside Prime Minister Keir Starmer, offering tributes to those who fought for freedom. Overhead, the skies told their own story as a breathtaking flypast of historic military aircrafts was joined by the Royal Air Force's red arrows. Their red, white and blue smoke trails cut through the grey clouds, thrilling spectators. Across the country, Britons joined in, holding street parties and remembrance events, turning the May bank holiday into a time of reflection, gratitude and celebration. Late in the afternoon, the King and the Queen hosted a special tea party for veterans at Buckingham Palace in honor of their sacrifice and resilience. Bureau Report, DD India. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.